Wisdom wins. Wisdom wins. The wise guy is going to beat the strong guy. What's up, fam? It's Dr. Dale, and you are listening to Permission to Be Great, it's the podcast where we help you walk in your greatness on a daily basis. Hey, super excited about this episode. This is going to be a really, really good episode. It's something that I've been studying myself. I've studied the idea kind of my whole life, or as far back as my adulthood, whatever. I'm constantly thinking about this idea of wisdom and wisdom winning, right? Constantly thinking about that idea. So about to dive in, super excited. And I really want you guys to, hey, I take notes. I make these episodes and I take notes when I make the episodes, right? You see my little pad here. I have my little book where I write all my notes in, so I can grow, so I can learn. So I strongly encourage you guys. A lot of you guys are driving, listening to this, or you're on the treadmill or whatever, working on stuff, that's perfectly fine. But at some point, maybe later on in the daytime, just jot down some stuff you remember. Or if you're just sitting down right now, get a journal and just jot down some stuff, some really good stuff coming for you guys. All right. So before we dive in, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button wherever it's at. If you're on YouTube, for those of you who just listen, know that, hey, you can see me video. It's on YouTube. Check out the channel. Hit the subscribe button there. And those of you in the podcast world, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you're at, hit that subscribe button. Really want to grow these followers, grow the audience so we can get the podcast out to more people. All right, super excited. Let me dive in because I'm too excited just to kind of talk too much about it. So talking about the idea of wisdom wins today. Wisdom wins. And I'm just going to start off by saying the wise guy beats the strong guy. The wise guy beats the strong guy. As a kid, I remember thinking about this so often, just thinking like, man, why don't the strong guy just go bully everybody and beat them up and just take what they want? Right. That's never the type of person I was. So I'm always completely against bullying and, would stand up for the kids who were getting bullied and things of that sort. However, I did wonder, like, why don't the bullies win more? When you look at the leaders of the world, the presidents, etc., why aren't they these big, strong guys who are just taking what they want? Right. I just think about that all the time as a child. As an adult, yeah, obviously it makes a lot more sense. But it all comes down to that general idea that wisdom wins. It's not the strongest guy in the room. It's the smartest guy in the room. Right. And I'm not even going to say the smartest guy. It's the wisest guy in the room that really wins. You guys already know that everything I do, my life in general, I try to make it biblically founded because I believe that's where I can find truth. Right. So that's kind of where everything that I do, the basis of my life, the way I function, the way I apply knowledge, right? So I'll go back to Ecclesiastes 9:16. It says, wisdom is better than strength. Wisdom is better than strength. And that is so true. And I want you guys to really think about that, hold fast to this idea, because that's going to be the basis for the rest of this podcast. And really, I think should be a great basis for the rest of your entire life. Understanding wisdom is better than strength and continuously working to become a more wise person. Wise, wisdom. Build that up in your life, because if you focus on becoming more wise, if you focus on becoming wiser, gaining that wisdom, you can see your life go to places that you perhaps never ever even imagined. Right? We're going to talk about that. That's what we're going to dive into throughout this episode. Okay, so again, the wise guy beats the strong guy. You look at the presidents, you look at the prime ministers, all the world leaders. A lot of times, there's these scrawny little skinny dudes who are just really wise. They can take that knowledge and apply it. And here's what you need to understand, right? A lot of people think they hear wisdom. Oh, he's smart. He knows a lot of stuff. Wisdom is not about necessarily intellect, and it's not necessarily about what you know. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. A lot of people say, oh man, this kid's scoring all sorts of stuff. His test, 1600 SAT, perfect scores and all this and all that. That kid is so smart. That does not make them wise. I've met a lot of people over my lifetime who are super crazy smart, but then almost seem like dumb as rocks at the same time, right? Super crazy smart, but then they can't apply that. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. Actually, let me further specify that. Wisdom is the appropriate application of knowledge. Wisdom is the appropriate application of knowledge. That's what wisdom is. It's not just knowing stuff. It's not just knowing 2 + 2 = 4. It's knowing, hey, 2 + 2 = 4. How do I take that and apply it so I know how much stuff to buy at the store, right? Or know how many people can be invited to this party, whatever. It's applying the knowledge to things that you know. Right. As a doctor, it's not enough for me to say, okay, I know that the way the ibuprofen is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, NSAID, right? I know that. Yeah, you know that, but how do you apply that to your patients? That's where the wisdom comes in. Proper application of knowledge. And a lot of people are smart, but they haven't quite figured out how to apply those smarts to make the world a better place, to make their life a better place, to make things better for other people. Okay. So that's what wisdom is. You have to understand that difference. I think about the ants in the Bible and Proverbs. It talks about go look at the ant, you sluggard. It talks about how the ant works hard. And then you think about Aesop's fable. There's the famous Aesop fable with the ant and the grasshopper. You got a story, right? In the story, it's like summertime and things are going well, right? And the grasshopper's out there's got his flute. The grasshopper's having a good old time just playing the flute, enjoying himself, right? They're just dancing and enjoying themselves. And he looks to the ants. He's a whole bunch of ants. And the ants are walking around. You're collecting your food and you're walking in that ant line that that you guys see, right? That ant line. And they're storing your food. You're building your ant hills and everything. And the grasshopper's just chilling, like, man, these ants are tripping, man. It's summertime. They should be having a good old time. And the ants working, getting the stuff built up, then eventually the snow starts coming down, right? The snow's coming down. And next thing you know, the grasshopper's out there, man, I'm hungry. I ain't got no food. How am I going to make it through this winter? And he looks inside the ant hill and the ant pile, and the ants are in there just chilling. They got all your food and you're dancing, having a good time because the ants applied the knowledge. Both the grasshopper and the ant knew that winter would come. But the ants took that knowledge and said, okay, let us apply it while it's summertime. Let's gather the food while it's here and let's store it all up, right? That's wisdom. It's applying the knowledge that you know, right? That is wisdom. That's what we need to be doing in our day-to-day, walks in life with our family, at the job, whatever. Is take the knowledge, say it's not enough just to have that knowledge. Okay, what can I do to apply that knowledge that I actually have, right? That's the first thing I wanted to touch on. The second thing that I really want to touch on is this idea of obtaining wisdom. This is huge. So I'm going to spend some time on here and then we'll kind of shift it and build upon it, right? The idea of obtaining wisdom. And this is where a lot of people really struggle with. People just go, hey, look, I'm just going to be real with you. A lot of people are just lazy. A lot of people are just lazy. A lot of people just want to be entertained. They want all the stuff that comes with it. They want money. They want big houses. Stuff that honestly, at the end of the day, is not that important. But people want all this stuff, right? I want a big house. I want the nice cars. I want, the fame, the fortune. I want people to know who I am. I want notoriety, which, again, I don't know why you would necessarily want all that notoriety. I'd rather stay on the low and keep it, be able to go in public and just be fine. But a lot of people want all this fame, glitz, and glamour and all that stuff like that, right? But then you're lazy. You're lazy. That to get to that level, it takes wisdom to get to this level that a lot of people want to get to. But they're lazy. They don't spend the time working to actually obtain that wisdom, right? Different ways you get wisdom. I'm going to touch 3 ways you get wisdom, okay? The first one is just with life and experience. Life and experience and time. And honestly, this might be one amongst the best, right? Time is undefeated. Time is undefeated, right? The longer you live, the more you're going to know, the more you're going to be able to take that knowledge and apply it. Hopefully, some people get the knowledge and they choose not to apply it. Okay. But the longer you live, that's just the way it goes. I think about when I was a child and even now that I'm an adult, you still see the same thing. Or when I was a kid and just thinking like, oh, I know this, I know that. Why are mom and dad telling me to do this, tell me to do that? Why do they think they know more than I do? Is because they were wiser than I was. They just were. As an adult, I can say it now. Mom, dad, you guys were right. I can say it now that I see from the other side. They just were they had that wisdom that I didn't have. They had that time, that life experience. They had more than that. But this is part of what they had. They had that time, that life experience that I just didn't have yet. I remember for college, I wanted to go to Xavier University in Louisiana. I went there for the summer. I was supposed to go there for college. I was working out with the basketball team in the summertime, and my guy Byron and I were practicing with the basketball team. And it was all set. I was like, I'm gonna go to Xavier. I'm gonna hoop. I'm gonna be pre-med at the same time, but ultimately maybe go to med school. And I think the girl to guy ratio back then was like 9-1. So it was like girls Xavier. I was like, oh man, Xavier, and that's just where my mind was when I was younger. So I really wanted to be at Xavier, and then I ended up getting some nice scholarships from University of Missouri. And had a long talk with my parents. My dad was like, hey, dude, you need to go to Mizzou. You need to go to University of Missouri. I'm like, I don't want to go to Missouri. I want to go to Xavier. Man, it's going to be set up. Everything's going to be great. He's like, you need to go to University of Missouri. And Missouri offered me some other stuff. They were paying me to do research, all sorts of great stuff at University of Missouri. Xavier was phenomenal. I really wanted to be there for a variety of reasons. And to this day, Xavier is still one of the best pre-med schools, if not the best pre-med school, HBCU pre-medical school, right? Just phenomenal place. However, at that point in time, my parents had more life experience than I had. Other experiences, but just more life experience. And they were able to use your wisdom to really counsel me, to really guide me, to make the decision that ultimately I made going to the University of Missouri, which, was, in retrospect now, I realized the value of that decision, how hard it was for me to decide to go there ultimately, because I really just wanted to be a Xavier. I had made friends and everything was looking good. But end of the day, the value that I got from going to Missouri, I met my wife, right? I got my kids, right? I got the degrees, I got scholarship. End of the day, my parents said, hey, look, they're offering you all these things, right? The money, so you come out of school, no debt. They're offering you the ability to do research, right? They got this mentorship program. They're setting a table for you if you go to University of Missouri, right? That's the wise decision. And from my perspective, I couldn't see that because I was young. I didn't understand what debt meant. I didn't understand the fact of having no loans when you come in. I didn't understand all these things, right? All I understood was this is going to bring me happy. I was a grasshopper at that point in time. My parents were saying, be the ant. I was a grasshopper. My parents were saying, hey, be the ant. Think to the future. Be wise. And thank God for great parents because I listened, that's the direction I went, and I'm so happy with that decision that I made. But those things come from life experiences, right? They had lived, they had seen what it looks like on the other side, and they were able to apply that and give it to me, right? And no matter how old you get, as long as there are people who are older than you who've lived longer, they will likely have something to offer you in terms of giving you that wisdom. So that's the first way you get wisdom, right? It's just the life experiences, just living and the things you're going to go through. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to learn how to deal with stuff. And then you learn the knowledge and then you learn how to apply that knowledge. And that's how one way to get wisdom. Second way to get wisdom is by coaching. And I'm really big on this idea of coaching. You know, a lot of people are against like self-help, like, oh, why would you do the self-help? Stop reading self-help books. You know, self-help is fake. You have all these frauds. Look, I'm gonna tell you, if you get a good coach, they can change your life. And I don't care what anybody says. If you get a good coach, or if you get a great mentor, or just have great friends, whatever, this idea of being around and gaining wisdom from people who are wise can completely change your life, right? You know, Proverbs 13:20 says, he who walks with the wise will become wise. Again, Proverbs 13:20, he who walks with the wise will become wise. Surround yourself with wise people. You know, a lot of people just go willy-nilly day in, day out doing whatever, no sort of thought, no sort of plan for their life, right? No, just going about, just going with the breeze, right? Just flippantly going with the breeze, right? If you want to be as wise as you can before you leave this earth, that's not the way to do it. At least I don't believe so. That's not the way to do it. You know, as somebody who, coach, right? I have coaching programs. A lot of times I don't do the actual coaching myself. I the coaching program is built on my brand, my reputation, et cetera, right? So people join the program, but I have people who do the actual work, you know, who help do the coaching. I have partners and people who do that part, right? But I have these coaching programs. So somebody who has coaching programs, right? So, and I wouldn't do something that I don't believe in. But even more important, as somebody who's paid a lot of money out of my own pockets to be a part of other people's coaching programs, I can tell you that's some of the best decisions that I've made, right? By putting myself in the student position, you know, tutelage, and putting myself in the position to sit at somebody's feet and learn from the wisdom that they've obtained from doing something that I want to do. Right. I paid a lot of money for these things. I'm not talking about just school, college, you know, med school. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I paid a lot of money outside, you know, to hire coaches, to hire people to help me become wiser. It just makes sense. You expedite the process by going to somebody that says, hey, you've done this before, rather than me spending all this time using my life experience and all these years, which I'm going to use anyways, right? I'm going to use that no matter what. But how can I even expedite that process more? How can I expedite that process? The way to do it is by going to people who have done it already, and they help give you that wisdom and get it done. Right. So I'm a huge advocate of that. And I'm kind of passionate about that because I know a lot of people down talk that. And there are some people out there who are going to try to deceive you. There are some fakes out there. All right. So I'm gonna come out and tell you there are programs out there that have no idea what they're doing, or they don't care. They'll take your money, whatever. That stuff is out there. But for the ones, you know, after you vet them, the ones that are good and legit, they are good and legit. And they help expedite your process so fast. I've done stuff where I spent a lot of money, you know, I'm talking a lot of money. Um, well, a lot of money is relative, right? But a lot of money for most people. And the people will look at me and just say, like, why you spend that money? Thank God I've got a wonderful wife. And my wife's always, trust me. She says, hey, if you think it's good, then go for it. But a lot of people be like, why would you spend that money doing that? And I'll tell you, I spend that money. And then just like that, I make multiples on it. Right. You make multiples on it because if you join the right programs and if you're applying the knowledge you're teaching you and using it as wisdom, it just makes sense, right? So again, Proverbs 13:20, he who walks with the wise will become wise. So put yourself around wise people, and you don't have to spend money doing it, right? Just if you can just find people who are willing to mentor you, to guide you, to help you, be in that company of people, because that will expedite you getting to where you're trying to get to. Remember, we're always talking about trying to get to fulfill your purpose in life. Right. So go back to last week's episode, and the week before we spent so much time. It's not even the last week, pretty much all the episodes, right? We talk about purpose, right? Focus on those things there. All right. And the third way I want to talk about to get wisdom is study. It's a study. And when I say study, I mean you can study this stuff on your own. It's to spend time reading, spend time listening to podcasts like this. Those of you all who listen to this podcast, you're doing exactly what I'm talking about. This is how you obtain wisdom, by get around people who take this stuff seriously, get around people who are trying to impart wisdom, get around people who are trying to get their own wisdom. I'm not saying I'm any more wise than you. There's certain areas you're going to have a lot more wisdom than I will. Right. But let's be in each other's company. Let's learn from each other. That's the general idea here. Right. But then you want to study, you want to listen, read books. I spend, majority of my time in the car. I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to a book. I'm listening to a podcast, right? I'm listening to the Bible. It's this idea of continuously getting that wisdom. Sure, I listen to music sometimes when I want to just kick back, or if I'm sleepy on the drive home or something like that, I crank the music up. But the majority of the time, I'm always trying to find ways to study and use my time wisely to gain wisdom. If you talk to my wife, you will rarely ever find me in my house just doing nothing, right? Or anywhere, right? It's all, if I'm sitting down, if I'm sitting down, the TV's on, I got something in my lap that I'm learning with, or that I'm doing some work. It's not to say that you have to be like that. That's who I am as a person. You don't have to be like that. But the general idea is you should constantly be trying to find ways to sneak in wisdom. Right, you look at somebody like Warren Buffett. They talk about, hey, Warren Buffett, one of the richest guys in the world. How to get them? People think he's just lucky and figured out trading, or he's cooking the books, or like cheating, or whatever. People have all these general ideas to how people who are rich get to where they are. But what you don't realize is, if you read Warren Buffett's books, or if you just look him up, he spends so many hours every day just reading to understand the market, what's going on in the market, so he can make better decisions. Right? He's gaining the knowledge, then he's appropriately applying that knowledge. He's being wise. That's the way you want. That's the way you want to attack life, by being wise. He spends time studying, reading. A lot of the people who are most successful, quote unquote, successful by worldly means, at least, they'll talk about how they wake up early and they get time to themselves. It might not be early. You might not be an early riser, right? You might say, hey, I'm going to spend time at night before I go to bed, or over my lunch hour, go on a walk by myself. But the idea is they spend time by themselves, trying to grow as individuals, right? You're studying, they're reading, you're doing all sorts of stuff. And among studying, you guys already know my belief, right? I try to base my life based on biblical truths. Again, I'm not a Bible scholar. However, I do spend time in the Word, trying to learn, so I can have the best life for myself, for my family, and hopefully for other people, to be able to be in a position to help other people, right? And one of the things, that Bible verse I was reading, so Matthew 10:16, right? Jesus is sending his disciples out to the world to witness. And Jesus says, behold, and this is not verbatim, but Jesus says, behold, I send you out as sheep amongst wolves. Be wise as a serpent, but as harmless as a dove. Be wise as a serpent. Be wise as a serpent. Be wise as a serpent, but as harmless as a dove. This verse has always been fascinating to me, because, when we think about the serpent, usually people don't like snakes. Right? People don't like serpents. People don't like the snake. When you think about the snake, you think about the devil, you think about Satan, you think about Adam and Eve in the garden, the deception, you think about all these things. And why would Jesus say, be wise as a serpent? Why would he say that? Right? Why would he tell us? Why would he tell his disciples? He's sending them out. Why would he tell them to be like the serpent? Let's take a step back and think about what this means. Let's take a step back and think about the serpent. Right. I was doing a little bit of research and a few things about the serpent. Right. So I've got just a handful, few things about the serpent to think about. Okay. Being wise as a serpent. Number one, serpent, I'll just say snake, right? I'll say snake. So when you be talking about being as wise as a snake, number one, snakes are quiet. Snakes are quiet. I think about this all the time, and this is something that I'm constantly trying to tell younger individuals. Sometimes you go in a meeting, and I sit in meetings for whatever variety of reasons, whether it's work related, not work related, whatever. And I sit there and I just listen to the people who are the loudest in the meetings. And so many times people will think that because they talk the most, because you're loudest, some people will view them as people who know what you're talking about the most, or the wisest, or things of that sort. I remember when I was in college, I think it was college, or must have been medical school, probably medical school. Obama was president, and I would do random. So I would watch these random meetings that Obama was having, like Affordable Care Act, these long things that most people would say boring. I would watch them. I wasn't watching them so much to learn about what was going on with the Affordable Care Act or whatever policies he was talking about. I was watching them to see how Obama behaved, how he carried himself. It had nothing to do with the policy. You know, I wasn't watching, and I did this. I remember I used to watch Tony Blair, British Prime Minister. I used to watch British Parliament. I just used to watch a lot of random stuff, but not because what they were talking about. I would just watch it to learn the leadership styles of these individuals. And you would watch Obama, and Obama would just sit there, just quiet for a long time. Everybody else is talking. Everybody else is trying to be the big puffy guy. And he would just sit there. He would just sit there, just quiet, you know. And same thing for a lot of other great leaders. You know, I watch people, even still, if I'm in meetings with like, you know, high level leadership people, I'll just watch the leader, the person in charge of the organization. A lot of times they just sit there just quiet, right? Snakes are quiet, right? I'm not saying they're bad. So start understand it again. Jesus said, wise as a serpent. So I'm teaching you that this is wisdom that they're applying. They're quiet. They're quiet. And why are they being quiet? They're being quiet because, number one, first of all, they don't want to make their presence felt too early. You don't want to make your presence felt too early. You want to have everybody else calm, at ease. You know, if a snake comes in there and makes a lot, you know, snakes can make noise. Say a snake doesn't just come in and start hissing. They don't do that. They come in there quiet, right? They study the surroundings, right? Quiet, patient. That's application of wisdom, right? Because being quiet up front is setting things up for what's to come. And the snakes, in the story of the snake is being quiet so they can attack you, kill you, and eat you, right? That's what the snake is doing. But remember, Jesus said, be harmless as a dove. So we're not going to go that far, right? So that's the first thing. Snakes are quiet. Second thing is they blend in, they camouflage. And this kind of goes with being quiet. They blend in, they camouflage, right? Chameleons, they can fit in any type of environments. That's important because, again, that lets you go in unnoticed. And again, why are we being quiet? Why are we trying to blend in? Because we're studying what's going on around us. We're looking around, we're studying, we're taking everything in. We're gaining knowledge. That's what we're doing, right? You're gaining knowledge through this process. We're gaining knowledge. As we're getting knowledge, okay, how does this person work? How does this person talk? You know, who in this room thinks they're the biggest, baddest dude, right? Who in this room is thinking, is smart, and, you know, might be on my side, or you know, or who's a decision maker here, right? You know, it's also you're being quiet. You're gaining knowledge through this process of just blending in, being quiet. Don't come in like a threat, right? You're gaining this knowledge. That's what you're doing. That's what the snake is doing. You're coming in, you're getting knowledge, looking around. For them, again, it's about being a predator. So for them, you're looking around and gaining knowledge about how can I best strike. That's what they're doing. We're not striking. We're harmless as a dove. But that's what they're doing, right? And the last thing is there's a lot more things, but the last thing that I want to talk about is patience. The patience of a snake. They are patient. They will sit there. Sometimes snakes they can observe for hours, right? And they're just sitting there, just studying, and now it's not ready to strike. Right? They're being patient. And that's huge. So when we talk about how can we be more like wise like serpents, patience. It's not a rush, not a race. Be patient. Again, what are you doing when you're being patient? You're bringing in the knowledge. You're observing, you're studying, you're evaluating, you're getting that knowledge. And then once you've got all that knowledge, once the snake has all that knowledge, pow, they strike. They strike, right? We're not striking to harm. We're striking to do something good, right? So when we go in there and when we strike, we're doing something like, okay, I've got the idea now. Here's how we can make the company, you know, 5x, right? Or I've got the idea now. Here's how we can help feed, you know, all of this community here. It's because you've been sitting there quiet, taking what everybody else has to say and figuring it out, right? You've been sitting there just blending in so you can walk, so you can go sit next to somebody just listening. You can go over there listening. It's not about being like deceptive or whatever, right? It's all these things are for good purposes to help people, right? It's gaining that knowledge. You've been patient. You're not rushing into a decision. You're being patient. You're being patient so you can have the time to actually think it through, to put it all together, to make it make sense. Taking the knowledge, you're linking the knowledge up to see how is it all going to make sense, and then you can apply that knowledge, and that's wisdom. Then you can apply that knowledge, and that is wisdom. That's why, as far as I believe, I'm not a Bible scholar, but as I'm thinking about this, as I've studied this, and I've looked at other people, what they have to say about this, being wise as a serpent, there's certain things that serpents do that we can apply with that wisdom and help ourselves and help other people out. That's what it's about. Wisdom wins. Wisdom wins. Man, I hope all this stuff is feeding you, because I tell you, it feeds me as I'm preparing for these. I don't just jump into these episodes, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm being a good student, giving you guys what's best, giving you guys my best. So as I'm studying, as I'm preparing for these episodes, as I'm taking my notes, I'm growing so much from this. I myself am growing so much from this, and I want to make sure that you guys are growing too. And I pray that it's helping you guys. Hey, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Like, share, all that stuff. Tell your friends. Send this out to your friend. If this has been something that's been beneficial to you, send it to a friend. Right? Help them grow from it as well. Right? Don't be a hater. Don't be stingy. Don't try to hoard the resources for yourself. Right? Send it to a friend. Help other people out. And for me, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. And one of the most important things for me to really help this accomplish the purpose that I have for it is to grow the audience, because you grow the audience, the way the algorithms and such work is they'll get it out to more people hear it, more people can actually apply what I'm teaching in these episodes, these podcast episodes. And this is one of my ways to contribute to the world at large, is by bringing these values, these ideals that are not my own, but I'm just delivering them to you guys in this medium so that we can make this world a better place. Hey, thanks for listening. Really, really appreciate it, guys. Again, hit that subscribe button. My prayer for you guys for this episode is that you will have a great emphasis on your wisdom, and that God will give you favor and grant that favor to you so you can get more wisdom and apply it for the world to make the world a better place. Praying for you guys. Love you.